I didn't plan to ruin the funeral. I planned to keep my mouth shut, shake hands, and get through the day without adding more damage to a family that already felt cracked down the middle. My dad died suddenly 2 months ago. Heart. No warning, just gone. My mom moved like a ghost on autopilot, making lists, calling relatives, arranging flowers like the right roses could change the cause of death on a certificate. I stayed with her the week before the service because I didn't trust her to eat or sleep without someone nudging her. On the second night, I woke up to the sound of my mom whispering in the kitchen. Not crying. Whispering. I figured it was my aunt. When I walked in, she snapped the phone shut and slid it under a folder. She said she was confirming the eulogy order. Her voice trembled, but her eyes didn't. I wanted to believe her. I decided to pretend I did. The morning of the funeral, I walked into her room to grab an extra tie pin and saw a second phone charging under the vanity. Not her usual phone. I recognized it because it used to be mine when I was a teenager, the kind you keep in a drawer for emergencies. The screen was lit up with a text from a number that wasn't saved. It said, "I'm sorry, I can't attend. Tell him I forgive him." I stared at it until the screen went dark. I pressed the side button. There were messages going back months, late-night paragraphs, missed calls. The last thread was labeled simply, him. And in those messages, there were hotel confirmations, secret meetups, and the kind of apologies that come from people who know exactly what they're doing and do it anyway. My stomach flipped. My mother was cheating on my father before he died. She was still talking to the guy today. I didn't say a word as we rode to the church. I sat in the front pew and held the program so tight the paper bent. I listened to my uncle speak about loyalty. I watched my mom dab the corners of her eyes, and I felt fire climb the back of my throat. When it was my turn to speak, I walked up there, ready to say the nice things you're supposed to say. Instead, I looked down at my mother, and every sentence I had prepared evaporated. I told the room the truth I thought I knew. I said Dad wasn't perfect, but he was faithful. I said some people who wore black today were only here to bury their guilt. I said loyalty counts most when no one is watching. I didn't say the word affair, but I didn't have to. Heads turned. My cousin shifted. My mother went still, like someone had unplugged her. My voice never broke. I finished the eulogy and sat down to the sound of nothing. After the burial, my mother asked me to come home with her, just the two of us. She didn't scream. She didn't deny it. She opened the drawer where she hid the phone and placed it on the table between us like a bomb she was too tired to throw. She said the messages were real. She also said I didn't understand what I had read. The man on the other end of those texts was my father. I told her that was ridiculous. My dad hated texting more than he hated traffic. She unlocked the phone, opened the thread, and scrolled to a photo Dad had sent the day before he died. He was in the garage, smiling, giving a thumbs up next to the crooked shelves he never fixed. The contact name wasn't him at first. It used to be his name. She renamed it after he died because reading his name on a silent screen hurt so much she couldn't breathe. The late-night messages were theirs. The hotel confirmations were theirs. My parents had been separated last year, not because of cheating, but because Dad thought he was protecting my mother by pushing her away while he dealt with medical scans he didn't want us to see. He didn't make it to the treatments. They had been quietly trying again for months, so the family wouldn't interfere. That's why she'd been whispering in the kitchen. She wasn't hiding a lover. She was confirming the hospice donation he requested in his will. She let me scroll. There were voice notes. One from Dad saying he was sorry he didn't know how to be vulnerable without turning it into a project. One from Mom laughing and telling him his garage shelves were a hazard and a metaphor. A thread where he apologized for failing at retirement and she told him she would wait as long as it took. I saw the last text she sent at 4 a.m. on the day he died. It said, "If you want to back out of speaking today, I can do it. I'll tell them the truth." He had typed a reply that never sent. I had taken the rawest week of her life and smashed what was left with my speech. I had called my grieving mother a liar in front of her entire family, using the confidence of a child who thinks a single clue solves a puzzle. I went back to the church that night and sat alone in the back row where the flowers were already starting to wilt. I wrote a new eulogy on the back of the program and read it to an empty room. The next day, I sent it to every person who was at the funeral. I told them I was wrong and why. I told them what my father had asked for and what my mother had done to honor it. I told them that grief makes villains out of shadows and cowards out of sons. People will talk about what I did for a long time. They'll say I embarrassed my mother and disgraced my father. They won't be entirely wrong. But when I see my mother now, I don't see the woman I accused. I see the person who loved my father so stubbornly that she kept his voice alive on a phone she couldn't bring herself to turn off. And for the first time since he died, I understand that love is not measured by what you say to a crowd, but by what you carry in the quiet.